Nike Air Max 90 just finished their 30th anniversary year last year in 2020, and they brought out some big guns. One of my favorites was a record-induced one right here, record-inspired. The LP is a beautiful shoe with that record right up there on the top of the tongues. And then here we are in 2021 with another music-related one. Now this shoe could easily have dropped last year in that 30th anniversary year. It's a big shoe with a lot of high quality on it, a lot of great details in the design, and a lot of great details in that sort of the collaboration element and the story element of it, and that whole record tie-up, the pirate radio out of the UK. And I'm going to tell you about pirate radio, what it is, where it came from, what was going on in the 60s, not from experience. I know I'm an old guy, but I'm not that old. But I'll be telling you a bit about the pirate radio and telling you where it came from, what that means for the shoe, and then looking at all the details on this guy, which makes it one of the best shoes of the season, because I love these guys. They're fire hot, and it'll be great to talk about them today with you guys. So without further ado, let's get into this and talk about the upcoming release of the Nike Air Max 90 Pirate Radio. This is a Tokyo Butter 23 sneaker channel. Tokyo Butter 23 sneaker channel is Mainichi Upsunode, Mainichi Mite Kudasai. And every single day from Tokyo, Japan, I bring you content about upcoming sneaker releases, sneaker news, and sneaker reviews. And I said this is the Tokyo Butter 23 sneaker channel because yesterday I put together a quick 5 sneaker video from our good friend Shoe Butter, who's like my godfather or my savior or my patron or whatever you want to call him. And he's you know, the true OG real deal, and he has like this huge multi-million-dollar sneaker collection. He sends me videos from time to time. And yesterday's video was all about just 5 of those videos stacked one after the other with these rare shoes in hand. So definitely check that out. I called it Best of Butter Part 1. I hope nobody was confused between Shoe Butter and Tokyo Butter. I mean, 2 totally different things. I mean, I'd love to have a shoe collection like that, but it might take me a few years to get that one together. But I'll be doing a Part 2 sometime soon. Yesterday was all about the rarest shoes in his collection, and then the other one will be all my favourite shoes in his collection, which are also extremely rare but extremely beautiful, so keep an eye out for that. And then today's video, all about those Air Max 90s. So, you know, these guys are upcoming releases. Shoe Butter's got a collection of the rarest shoes from history, but these guys are coming down the line in the future, and we're talking on February the 6th, so not too far away. And like I said, last year was the 30th anniversary year. 1 year later, now in the 31st anniversary year, they're dropping this really hot shoe. And like I said, it's about pirate radio. If you don't know anything about pirate radio, it was a thing in the 60s in the UK, because back then all radio was sort of government regulated, and there was really tight restrictions about what could get on the radio. Pretty much it was just sort of clean pop music and classical music and stuff like that. Very rare to get rock and roll and anything controversial like that. So what they used to do was they'd park these boats out in international waters, which the UK government couldn't patrol and didn't have the legal right to patrol, and then they'd project on the airwaves this pirate radio. So that's how it got called pirate radio, because they were on these boats projecting the radio, and people would be listening huddled in their bedrooms trying to listen to this illicit radio. And this is a hark back to those days. Now, if you haven't ever seen a movie called The Boat That Rocked, hopefully I've got a picture behind me here of the poster or something, or the promotional materials from that. It's all about the pirate radio era in the 60s. It's fiction, but it's sort of true fiction, historical fiction, if you like. It's funny. It's a hilarious film. It's got an amazing soundtrack with some incredible music from the 60s. Some great performances, and one of them's, I hadn't thought of him until right now, but a really great actor who passed away recently. I can't remember his name, but he's sort of stocky blonde guy who was in like quite a lot of films and then passed away before his time, and he's kind of legendary now. And then there's other, Bill Nye, great British actor in there too. So The Boat That Rocked, all about pirate radio, and this shoe all about pirate radio too. And hopefully somewhere while I'm chatting about this shoe, the actor's name will come back to me. So because he's a big actor, he's won an Oscar and everything. So into the shoes. So we've talked about it being the UK and the pirate radio, how these boats are floating offshore and sending this illicit radio music into the UK. And then in this shoe, to be honest, there's really only 2 places where they pay homage to that, but they do it in a huge way, in 2 of the biggest ways possible on a shoe. One in terms of like biggest in size, and the other in terms of biggest in story. So we'll get into those 2 things, and then we'll look at the rest of the shoe. So first things first, we'll look at the biggest hit in terms of importance. We'll go with the back of the shoe here. And the reason why I think this is big, it's not physically big, but it's big because it's the branding unit on the heel, which is a really important place to play around with. And usually the branding unit on the back of an Air Max 90 is very consistent. It's got a sort of standard, almost I don't know, cult, can we say that? It's a really established branding system on the back of Air Max 90, so when they play with it, it's big news. Now, Undefeated did that when they brought out a collaboration. Hopefully I'm able to show you that behind me here with their 5-stripe sort of branding sign, which was really cool to see the Air branding played around with on the back. But then here they've gone even a further step and brought in, it's not branding at all, it's just a sort of a radio wave signal, which is the dominating part of that heel branding. But there's also a little tiny swoosh on one side and a little tiny Air on the other, all of that in grey on the red branding panel. So that's important because it's the major piece of branding on the shoe, and they've decided to flip it out with the radio wave there. And then big, if we're talking in terms of big real estate, let's take a look at the outsole here, and you can see that's the biggest part of the shoe, obviously, and that's the biggest part of the branding on this diet, guys. Now, there's two things about it that I just absolutely love. One is that it's a fully translucent outsole, now, not semi-translucent, not partially translucent. Sometimes you get these obscured translucents where it's hard to see through them. This guy is full-on translucent. It's icy blue, which often translucent outsoles are, and it looks through to the midsole where you've got that pirate radio skull with the sort of radio waves beaming out from it. And they're the two major hits towards that story, that pirate radio story, on the heel with the squiggly radio wave line, and on the outsole / midsole, because it looks through the midsole, with the pirate radios, the skull on there with the radio waves. So two really nice hits, very beautiful parts of the shoe, very distinctive, very important for you guys to know about. But then the rest of the shoe, let's look at the full thing first, then we'll get into a couple of points of detail on it. Basically, the major three colours that play are red, white and blue, which hints to the British flag, not the English flag, the British flag, because all the blue and the red and the white mixes together for the different countries in the UK to make that Union flag. I can't remember what the Union Jack is itself. But people get confused between the flag being called the Union Jack, but it's actually the Union flag, and the Union Jack's something else. But I'll have to look into that. But anyway, the red, white, and blue base on this shoe reflects the British sort of tradition, the British feel of the shoe. But there's a third colour at play there, which we already saw on that heel branding, and that's the grey that goes into this shoe. We're going to have a couple of looks at different places where that's important. Now, one is on the swoosh, so hopefully we're zoomed in on that. You can see it's an embroidered swoosh, which is kind of rare on Air Max 90s. Often Air Max 90s will have a cut out swoosh, a piece of material on the side there, but instead they've gone with this embroidered one. Hopefully it's showing up on the green screen here, because it takes quite a zoom in to get into it to see that detail in there. And it's very fine thread that made of, and I'm going with grey, but it might be silver that they were actually aiming for, but very cool feature on the shoe. And then the second place that's really, really cool in those terms as well is when you go down to the front to the toe box, and you can see that the toe box on there is wrapped around with the leathers, beautiful luxe leathers they are at that, but the toe box itself has got the mesh feel to it, and then on top of that, this very thin thread to give a kind of pinstripe feel, which kind of, talks about London, talks about, the pinstripe bankers, that kind of thing. So it's a kind of neat little feature, neat little detail on these guys, and tells you a bit about the luxe, the quality that goes into the materials. And then the final thing to do is go up high to the top of the tongues. They didn't do anything major on the branding here, but the thing I like about looking at the tongues is the way that they're in opposition to the insole. So hopefully I've got a picture behind me here that shows you that you've got blue on grey, and then you've got grey on blue, and it's that kind of inverse of each other. But they could have gone with a lot of branding. This is a place where you often see branding, the skull on the insoles, for example, or the radio wave on the tongue there. But instead of doing that, they kept these guys standard, and on the heel, major point of branding, and on the outsole, a massive piece of real estate. That's where they decided to put the story of this shoe, the pirate radio, the boat that rocks, the whole about that. So great shoe. Don't know if it's tied to a movie or anything like that. I don't think so. I think it's just a great shoe that they've come out with, and I think it's an absolutely beautiful shoe on its own, and then on top of that, with the story that goes with it, I really dig it. I think it's a great looking shoe. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that, like that look at this shoe, and keep an eye out for more videos from me, especially a couple more from Shoe Butter that we'll be doing over the next few days. Those kind of clumping them together, where we get more than one. We put 4 or 5 videos all into the one, and we'll have a look at those in the upcoming days as well, and some other sneaker releases coming down the line too, so stay tuned for that. For now though, it's time for me to sign off and do what I do at the end of every video, which is remind you guys that I do this every single day, and that means that you are guaranteed to see me tomorrow.